The hip hinge is a very simple and very important movement that you have to do each time you bend over, crouch, or squat. During a range of activities, from washing your hands or doing the dishes, to picking up something off the floor, to squatting with hundreds of pounds on your shoulders. To hinge correctly, you first need to be able to maintain a stable and neutral spine. So I recommend you watch the standing posture exercise video and begin practicing that as well, if you haven't already. The hip hinge is basically taking the spinal stability from the standing posture exercise and then bending forward and moving around while maintaining it. Instead of using the corner of a wall or a bookcase like in the posture video, we're going to use a stick, one that is at least 4 feet long. Stand with your feet about shoulder width apart, with your knees slightly bent, or even moderately bent. Your feet can turn out a little if they need to. You don't have to be strict about keeping them straight ahead. Place the stick on your spine, using your hands to keep it in place. You're going to use the stick exactly like you used the corner in the standing posture exercise. I recommend holding the stick like I'm showing here. If you grip it in your fists, your hands will tend to hold the stick away from your back. Experiment with a method that works for you. You may need to play around a bit if your shoulders are stiff. Make sure the stick is touching 3 points of contact: your sacrum, somewhere in your mid-back, and the back of your head, just like with the standing posture exercise, and keep the rib anchor active. Now you're going to bend forward from the hips while maintaining that nice neutral spine position. When you bend forward, do so by hinging, folding your hips deeply and moving your pelvis backwards instead of just leaning forward. There are a few different ways to think about this. Find the crease in the front of your hips. It runs diagonally downward, like this. You can push your fingers into the center of that crease and use that as a cue to move your pelvis backwards, folding your body at that hinge around your fingers. You can also do it by placing the edge of your hand on the crease, and fold yourself around your hand while keeping your back straight. It should feel like you're pinching your hand between your thighs and your lower abdomen. Continue hinging forward as far as is comfortable. There's no need to go to any extreme angle. This isn't meant to be a stretch for the back of your legs, although you can stretch your legs this way if you choose. Just go until you feel a mild stretch there, and then straighten back up slowly, still maintaining the neutral spine. Really pay attention to keeping the same relationship to the stick the whole way through. If you start to hyperextend your lower back, you'll lose contact with the stick in the middle of your back. And if you flex your spine forward too much, you'll lose contact either at your sacrum or at the back of your head, or both. As you get more comfortable with the motion, start also practicing it without the stick, trying to maintain the same feeling in your spine, like when you're practicing the standing posture exercise away from the wall. This is an important step towards really being able to incorporate it into your daily life. As you start doing it with your hands free, also work on keeping your shoulders relaxed down and back through the whole movement. Don't let your shoulders hunch forward when you bend forward. And once you get a feel for this with your feet evenly apart, start practicing with your feet staggered in various positions. This is actually the most practical way of using the hip hinge, and is how you will usually be applying it. Place your feet comfortably apart, with one more forward than the other, and hinge. You can let your feet turn out as much as is comfortable, and keep your knees bent. Practice picking things up off the floor using this motion. This is a great way to coordinate the hip hinge with keeping the shoulders in a relaxed position. If you can't hinge forward far enough to reach the floor with your shoulders back, just bend your knees a little more while keeping a neutral spine to make up the difference. You can also practice going down into a crouch or a squat by starting from this position before lowering your hips more and bending your knees. This is also a great way to stand at a sink when you're washing your hands, brushing your teeth, or doing the dishes. Get used to the feeling of settling your pelvis down and backwards, letting your weight go down through your legs into the ground, without putting any tension in your lower back. Again, you can practice repetitions of this for the first few weeks of doing it, doing maybe 10 moderately slow reps at a time in various positions. But once you get the basic idea, it's much better to just work it into your daily life and revisit the exercise in isolation occasionally, just to check in. Using it in daily life is where you will get the most benefit from it.